Hey guys, so I feel like I need to talk about this whole situation with Ray. Um, if not for you guys, then mainly for me, so that I can maybe just come to terms with it. And maybe just so I can use this as like a diary and look back on it, years from now and be like, wow, that was a bad idea. But so when he moved in, it was like all fun and dandy. We were having a good time, we were having fun. And then, you know, oh, when he moved in, he was like, "Yeah, I just want a couple weeks to, learn the area and, you know, kind of just relax before I start working." And I was like, "Okay, no big deal. 2 weeks is no big deal." And then a month goes by, and I'm like, "Dude, have you even tried looking for work yet?" And he's like, "No, I just don't know what I want to do, and I don't want anything super taxing." And he's like, "I don't want to do medical driver transit anymore or medical transit anymore, and I don't want to do this or that." He was like super picky about what he wanted to do for work. I was like, "Okay, well, how about like I don't know. I like had a list of things he could do. I was like, okay, well, what about a grocery store? He's like, no, I don't want to work in a grocery store. And I was like, okay, how about a dishwasher? He's like, no, I don't want to be a dishwasher. I was like, dude, it's a job. When you move to a new state, you cannot be picky about the kind of job you're going to get. And so I was like, fine, well, I'll do the applying for you. So I applied to like 15, 20 different places for him, right? And he was like, "Oh, and I don't want to do overnight because overnight sucks and da 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 da, and I'll never get to see you guys." And I'm like, "Dude, I never get to see Aiden. Like, I don't see my husband until he gets off of work at 10 o'clock when I go pick him up. Um, I pick him up from work every single night, 5 days a week, so I can also have that some time with him before we get home." And he's like, "Well, I'm never going to see you guys if I work overnight, and I need to be able to sleep." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm not home anyway during the day. You're going to get sleep." And he's like, "No, I won't." And I'm like, "Okay." So I applied for him to be working at Whole Foods with Aiden. And, Aiden endorsed his application because if he endorses it, so what that means is um, he used Aiden as a referral, and Aiden endorsed it. And what that means is when somebody uses an employee there as a referral, they get a $300 bonus after 45 days. Um, just to make sure that it's 45 days, so that when the person starts working there, the employee that they used as a what did I just say? A reference or whatever, referral. There we go. Yeah, so reference. As a reference, won't get their $300 bonus until the 45 days are done. That way, somebody doesn't just use the referral and then they immediately get their $300 bonus and then the person just quits. The person who got used the reference doesn't just quit. So it's a 45-day probationary period to make sure that they're going to stay there. And then after the 45 days is done, that's when Aiden would have gotten the bonus for $300. And, le- leading up to that, though, before he was going to start work in a few days from now. And I had to even just tell him the simplest things. I was like, look, you need to shower every day or every other day. But he only showered like once every 2 weeks, if we were lucky. He also didn't wash behind his ears, so he always had crust, like right behind his ears, like on the folds. It was nasty. I went to go cut his hair one time. I was like, dude, you need to wash behind your ears because there's crust growing. And he's like, oh, I didn't know it was that bad. I never think to wash behind there. I was like, dude, it's part of your body. How do you not think to like scrub behind your ears? I take a shower twice a day. and I always scrub every part of my body. And he was like, "Oh, whoops." Um, and I had to tell him to do the most simple things. Like he wouldn't do the dishes unless I yelled at him to do it. So let me clarify something that before he moved in, he said, "Oh yeah, I'll vacuum every day. I'll do the dishes every day. I'll sweep and mop." He said he would do those things daily. So obviously, after a month, I was annoyed that he didn't do those things at all, like ever. The only time he vacuumed was like maybe a couple of days after he got here, and then after that, he never vacuumed again. Um, and he never swept. He never swept or mopped after that either. And it was a struggle to get him to do the dishes. And then he would do this thing too where he would soak the dishes, but the thing is, he would clean them and then let them soak in soapy water, and then he would rinse them off at 7:30 p.m. and then he would dry them off and put them away. And I'm like, dude, that's just a lazy way out. Like, they're already clean, they're soaking in soapy water, but you just washed them. There's no reason for clean dishes to be soaking in soapy water. All you have to do is rinse them off, dry them off, and put them away. He never did that. He would always wait till 7:30 and then do that. And that's right before we leave to pick Aiden up from work. And I have a feeling he did it that way so he could at least say, "Oh yeah, I did the dishes before you got home." Like right before you got home, but okay. He also said he would take the trash out every single day. That only happened like twice the entire time he was living here. Back up, Fillmore. Back up, please. And then he told me, he's like, "Oh yeah, well, I have a foot fetish, and I think your feet are really cute." And I was like, "Dude, this is creepy, but okay." And then he got really weird about it. Like, I was sitting on the bed one time, and he tried like rubbing my feet, and I was like, "Dude, stop. It's creepy." And I couldn't be barefoot around our house without him like drooling over my feet, practically. Which, no disrespect to people who have foot fetishes or any fetish of any kind. I just think it's creepy. Feet are nasty, especially mine because I wear boots all day because I do construction and renovations. But moving on, he also said, "I'm really into trans men. They're super attractive." And then he told me that he was like really, really into me, like deeply and madly in love with me, and he wanted to marry me. And I was like, "Dude, I'm married." Like, and he always called himself my number one. And I was like, eventually, I was like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "Oh, well, in case something happens to Aiden, I'll be, your backup husband." And I'm like, "Whoa, dude, you're 47. Like, what?" Creepy. Like, we were dating, if you want to call it dating. It was puppy love. That's all it was. I was never madly in love with him. I was never in love with him, period. But he got it in his head that if something were to ever happen to Aiden, that I would like jump the gun and marry him right off the gate. I'm like, okay, and I just went with it for a while. And then I realized he was fetishizing me, and he had a severe fetish with trans men, and it was creepy because every time I took my shirt off, he's like, "Oh, look how skinny you are," and he also had a skinny person fetish, and every time I would eat a lot, he would be like, "Holy crap, that's a lot of food," and I'm like, "You're right. My nutritionist wants me gaining 20 pounds. I'm 120 pounds right now." And he was like, "Oh, you look great though." And I'm like, okay. And then when I started gaining that weight, I was really proud of myself. And then he started eating all of our food. Like, he would eat everything. Everything that was like basically in his peripheral, he would eat. And he made like pasta every night for like a week, and I was so done with pasta. But he kept making it. He kept making like I don't know what you call it, but it was like weird pasta. He made it with like tomato soup and used that for the sauce. It was always like dry or crunchy, or it was never like soft. Like not soft, but not. It would be like not fully cooked pasta every single time, and I'm like, I hate this. Like this is why I need to cook, because it's a texture thing, and I have ARFID, so I have minimal things that are safe foods for me, and he ate all my safe food, and it was annoying. But like I got chewed out by my doctor a few weeks back, because they're like, well, you're 120 pounds, you should be like 140, and I'm like, I know, I just have a lot going on, and I didn't want to tell them at the time that I think it was Ray's fault, and it was just a nightmare. So then like when he was at the park, so because of my autism, I find it easier for me to text people about certain things, especially if it's serious, because I want to avoid conflict, and I communicate really well by text. So that's what I did. I texted him. I was like, look, you're living rent free in my home. You haven't pitched in for rent. You haven't pitched in for the security deposit. You haven't pitched in for your phone that I am paying for, mind you. And you ate all our food. You're like sitting on your ass all day while I'm out busting my ass every day, working long hours in the heat. The units I work in have no AC, and I was like, "Are you serious? Like, you're dead ass asleep when I'm downstairs working in the units, and you're up here passed out with the AC. It's not fair to me." Like, I was pissed, and I told him, I was like, "Look, you have to get your shit together. Like, I don't care what you do, you have to get it together, because if you're gonna keep doing this, we cannot live together." And we even talked about getting him his own place here. And he was actually getting excited. It was cool to see. And then he lost all motivation. Like, he was so depressing to be around. Like, to the point where I wanted to end my life. He made me so depressed. The day I kicked him out, I wanted to end my life rather than deal with kicking him out. And it was bad. Like, it was so bad I didn't feel safe alone with him at home. So I would make him go to the park every single day. And I thought he was like, you know, doing mental health or whatever, but instead he was like, I don't know what he was doing, but it just, I don't know. I just didn't feel safe with him home alone with me. You know, I didn't feel safe alone with him at home. And I don't know why. I didn't feel safe. Maybe because I was starving myself all day until Aiden got home, or maybe because he would always make stupid remarks. He would always tell me he loves me, and you know, he can't wait to marry me someday, and that he's my number one. And I don't know. But anyway, he would also like do this thing where he would say sorry a lot, and I understand that's a traumatic response. You know, it's a response when you've been through trauma. I used to do it too, but it was like all the time. And mind you, when we were like on FaceTime basically 24/7, he had never done that. And he only did it as soon as he moved in. Like, I would tell him, like, hey, make sure you put your shoes on the shoe rack. And he's like, oh, sorry. I'm like, for what? I was just letting you know we have a shoe rack. Like, and then I was like, hey, make sure that you shut the toilet seat because the dog drinks out of it if you leave it open. Oh, sorry. I was just letting you know again. And then, you know, I would be talking to Aiden about something when he was in the room, and he'd be like, I'm sorry. I'm like, for what? like he would say sorry about everything, even if it didn't include him, mainly just to get attention. Um, and the next thing is like, he said he had Tourette's, um, but I don't believe him. I don't believe him one bit, and I say that because uh, he would be able to stop his Tourette's like that. That's not something you can stop yourself, I don't think. That's something that takes a while to stop, um, or like calm down, you know. Um, like he couldn't watch anything with the Ouija boards because he has apparently he has trauma from Ouija boards. He said he was possessed at one point and he had an exorcism, and he at the time he said they didn't know what to do, yada yada yada, and he said eventually it just went away. I think he didn't have a priest there, which is normal. To have a priest there, you have to have a priest there if you're gonna have an exorcism. I'm not stupid, like, but like he said all these things that just didn't add up, and he would talk about these stories and past life experiences that didn't add up, and just didn't make sense, and it was weird. Like, anyway, but he couldn't watch anything with Ouija boards, apparently. Um, so I was watching a movie one time that it was a horror movie, and it had an Ouija board in it, and it barely showed it, just barely. It showed like the planchette, planchette, I think is what you call the little like thingy that moves around on the board, and immediately started ticking like out of nowhere, and I was like, seriously? So I changed it to supermarket sweep, I think is what it was called. And eventually, and then like 2 seconds later, his ticks are done, and I'm like, are you serious? Like 2 seconds later, after I changed it, it was done. Um, he also couldn't listen to, or I don't know if he couldn't listen to it or if he just didn't want to, but I would always listen to rap in the car. And all of a sudden he started ticking, and I'm like, what? He's like, oh, I can't listen to rap. And I'm like, you listen to Eminem all the time and you're fine. He's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Like, poor you, dude. I'm not, I don't know. And then, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And eventually he would let the dishes pile up, and then he would let the dust pile up. So after I had a long and taxing day at work of doing renovations, I had to come home and I had to dust. I had to vacuum. I had to sweep. I had to mop. I had to clean the bathroom. And I had to clean the shower. I cleaned the oven. I cleaned the sink. I cleaned all the dishes. I did everything. I did all the housework. And then he comes home from the park, and mind you, this guy drops he cries on the drop of a hat. And he got home and he was like, oh, I was going to do all that. I said, dude, I'm the kind of person that if you tell me you're going to do something, I expect you to do it right away. I said, I've been waiting for like a week for you to clean my oven because you said you were going to. You said every single day for a week, oh, I'll clean it. And you never did. And then I heard for like 3 days, oh, I'll clean the bathroom, I promise. It was never clean. So I did it. I said, you said you were going to do the dishes today. You didn't. So I did. Like, it was insane. And living with him was not possible. He is not a clean person. He always says, oh, I'll never let my apartment get as bad as it was when I was in Wisconsin. But he let our place go. And he didn't respect our home. I don't know what his plan was moving in with us, but I hate that dude. And as far as I'm concerned, I never knew him because I was just a fetish to him. I was somebody who would be his caretaker. Like, I'm 25. I'm very mature for my age. I work hard. I work full time. I take pride and joy in the things that I do because I'm proud of myself. I've worked hard on my depression. I've worked hard on my anger. I'm seeing a therapist. I'm on medication for moods and depression and anxiety. And I'm trying to take better care of myself. But after he moved in, I just let myself go for a while. And so the day before yesterday, I kicked him out. And I texted him when he was in the park. And I said, look, I can't do this anymore. I said, I need my family back. I need my home back. I need my puppy back. I need my car back. Like, you have taken everything from me. Like, you have taken over my entire home, my puppy. You've taken my car over. You've taken my home over. Like, you're spreading mess everywhere. And it's insane. I said, I've told you our boundaries. I've told you if you're going to continue living here, you need to help around the house because me and Aiden both work full time. And he didn't do that. He didn't respect that. And it literally took me screaming at him to get his ass up and do something. He was a miserable person. And I hate saying this, but I feel like, how is somebody that depressed still alive? And I don't want him to have anything bad happen to him. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, how does somebody live so depressed and stay alive? He also got mad at me when I was talking about my first day at work because it was a huge deal for me. You know, this is my first full-time job since the moving company. And I was really proud of myself. And Aiden was talking about, oh, well, I have to do dish tomorrow. Because he got promoted to doing hot bar at Whole Foods, but once a week he does dish. He works in the dish pit, and he was like, "Oh, I'm doing dish tomorrow," because he was letting me know. I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And Ray, like sulking on the couch, was like, "Oh, I wish I did that," and I was like, "Dude, you will. Like, you still have a week until your background check is back. Like, just chill." And he was always saying something to like have us feel sorry for him. I feel like the entire time I've known him, I've given him over $3,000 at this point, and I'm never gonna see that back because he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll pay you back. Oh yeah, I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back. I promise. I'll pay you back. I promise." And I kept hearing it. I kept hearing, "I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I won't do it again. I'm sorry." Like, that's all I heard, and the day I kicked him out, it was all lip service at that point. And I told him, I said, look, this is clearly not working out. I said, and I was going to have friends come over. And I said, look, before they come over, they're not coming over for a while because they have some stops they need to make. I said, you need to come home. You need to pack up. And you need to leave. You need to get out. Because I cannot do this anymore. I said, my mental health is at risk. My depression is so bad. I've been thinking about ending my life. I said, you were the cause of me and Aiden's biggest argument in our entire life together. In our entire, 3.5 years of being together, we had the biggest argument, and it was so bad we were considering divorce. It was because of him. And I said, this is not healthy. I said, you need to come home. You need to pack your duffel bag, get all your crap, and get out. I said, don't talk to me. Don't look at me. Don't say anything to me or my puppy. Just pack up and get out. I said, you have an Orca card, which is what we use for transit here. I said, you have an Orca card. Take a bus and go to the homeless shelter because I will not continue to do this. You will not take over my home. You will not disrespect my home. And you will not drool all over me because you have a fetish with me. I said, that's not okay. I said, I need my home back. And you have taken over my entire life. Like, I'm taking care of you more than I'm taking care of myself, my husband, or my puppy. And last night at 11:29, he flew back to Wisconsin because he must have told somebody a sob story about, oh, they were so bad to me and they didn't let me work and oh, da 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 da, whatever. He probably like downplayed it hugely about how it wasn't his fault. He didn't do anything. We're the bad guys. When really I was encouraging him and supporting him through all of this at the time. And then, you know, the day before yesterday, I had my breaking point because I wanted to end my life that day instead of kicking him out. And instead, I stepped up to the plate and I said, look, this is it. Get out. Because he made my friends so uncomfortable too that they didn't want to come over if he was here. They didn't feel safe. And I'm sorry for ranting. I know this is going to be a long video, but I kind of just needed to get it out there. Because since he left, I've been majorly depressed and anxiety. I've had anxiety attacks, panic attacks, paranoia. Like, I haven't eaten. Like, I had a bagel today, and I had some toast, and I had a banana, and I had some yerba mate stuff. It's really good. But that aside, like, the bagel, the banana, and the toast were enough for me to eat that I feel sick to the stomach because I'm so full. I'm paranoid to eat still, and it's taking a while for me to rewire my brain that it's okay to eat. It's okay to stuff my face because I work hard and I paid for that, and it's been absolute hell.